there's our other match here. Matthew Pitzer with Black Market. Love
That's
it.
a good name.
It is. I believe that's Brad Nelson. I've heard Brad Nelson use that name. I believe he either came up with it or someone did, and that's the deck he's been using. Looking for... Okay. All right, so Matthew Pitzer with Black Market. That's a mono black trading post versus Grant Wilkinson's Esper midrange. So no Delver in this match either.
Yeah, Black Market's an awesome name. You said that that Brad's been using that?
Yeah, Brad has been.
That's great. That's really great.
So we Grant cast Go for the Throat on a Germ token on Matthew's side of the board. Grant with a Gideon looks to be swinging in alongside 2 Spirits on his side, and on Matthew's side of the board we've got a couple cards off screen, can't quite see them. A Batterskull, a Nile Spellbomb, a Wellspring. I believe there's an Oblivion Ring on something over there, possibly a trading post. Can we get the players to scoot some cards on screen? There's a Golem from Grant Wilkinson that either just came out of nowhere or was off screen. Oh, it was a Blade Splicer. Jeez, the Blade Splicer was completely off screen. So that's what it was. He just cast Blade Splicer while I was trying to see the other side of the board. All right, so it does appear that Oblivion Ring is on. Is that a trading post?
That angle I cannot tell.
Every time we zoom back in, we can't quite see that. What is it? A Mimic Vat. Okay.
Mimic Vat once again. Mimic Vat. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to see a couple of those springing up here and there.
Me too, and 2 entirely different lists. It was Bug Pod before, now it's Black Market. All right, so Matthew Pitzer tapping 6 mana here. Better. For a Wormcoil Engine, and it appears to have resolved.
Is that a Black Sun Zenith? Yeah, it was a Zenith. New art. He felt his hand back. Normally, I am very bad at recognizing the alt art of cards, but my Black Sun Zeniths on Magic Online are full card art.
So you recognize that one a lot better. All right, Spirits getting in for 2.
One thing I really like about this list, only 1 Counterspell main for Grant Wilkinson. 1 Dissipate. I think that's correct.
And is this a Flashback Lingering Souls here? It is. 2 more Spirits. Gideon getting plussed there. Gonna take a hit from a Wormcoil Engine if some Spirits or Golems or Blade Splicers don't get in the way. Grant Wilkinson up a game in this match. Just about half an hour left to play. A little less. For those of you just joining us, I'm Joey Pasco in the booth with Adrian Sullivan, and we're bringing you guys coverage live from Denver, Colorado for the StarCityGames.com Open Series. We're in round 2 of 9, and this is the 4th match we've brought you today already.
That's right.
Some exciting Magic, some quick matches on the main feature match table, video table. So
this goes back to what you were asking about with control decks. Why is it harder for them right now? Games go really quickly. And there are some haymakers. I mean, let's say you're a control deck of some non-blue variety, right?
Uh-huh.
And a Mimic Vat gets into play. The ways to answer a Mimic Vat if you're a control deck, in game 1, tend to be Oblivion Ring or no.
So a Black Sun Zenith from Matthew clears the board of everything besides his Wormcoil Engine, as far as creatures go.
Yep.
And Gideon takes a hit.
A smaller hit.
Yeah, that Wormcoil Engine not as threatening after the Zenith, but Still pretty incredible.
But yeah, that very factor of there are just too many random cards that make it hard to be a control deck. Not to mention the fact that Rancor is really scary, whether it's from green-red aggro, whether it's from mono-green aggro, whether it's from green infect.
Or from a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Pretty scary there.
It's really scary there. Mm-hmm. For how long will you be in there? 1,000 years? I forget.
I don't remember either.
Oh, no, that's the wrong one. I'm thinking of Sarlacc Pit.
Sarlacc Pit, yeah.
Yeah. My bad.
All right, so that is a 3/3 Wormcoil, by the way. Because the Zenith was for 3.
Yeah, the Rancor from Star Wars is much less scary. All you need is a bone and you're good to go.
So Gideon takes out the Wormcoil engine with his destroy target tapped creature ability, very Royal Assassin-esque.
I always like to say that murder him, assassinate him.
So Wormcoil goes away, gets 2 tokens. All right, let's see what kind of stylish tokens Matthew Pitzer has for his Wormcoil engines. And those are some interesting looking tokens. I can't quite tell what they are.
Those are some wild worm tokens.
All right, so one of the worms picks up a Batterskull.
One of the things I like about this list is seeing Wormcoils and Batterskulls and Talismans and Trading Posts.
Well, there's a second Black Sun Zenith for Matthew, and that clears the board yet again, but his lifelink token, I believe, that's interesting. He put the lifelink token, he put the Batterskull on the lifelink token, but lifelink doesn't trigger twice anymore, right? So he's not really getting any extra value. He could have just put it on the Death Touch token for an additional effect. He could add a lifelink and Death Touch. 4/4.
I don't think that creatures can have both lifelink and Death Touch. They're, oh wait.
Deathlink and Life Touch.
There we go.
All right, so Gideon here, after taking, I believe, I think he attacked Gideon. All right, Nile Spellbomb removes Grant's graveyard and draws Matthew a card. And now Matthew untaps, has a 4/4 lifelink.
Ooh, classic Duress.
Yeah. Seen a lot of classic cards in the last couple matches. So
the
Duress.
Celestial Purge in Grant Wilkinson's hand cannot touch the worm, so it gets rid of the Gideon there. 1 life for Matthew Pitzer on top of all of that.
Yeah, he was at like 16 at one point. He's at 30 now.
This is one of the things I like about if you're building your Trading Post deck. What I think of as correct, I think you should be running Wormcoil and Batterskull and Trading Post and Pristine Talisman, so you have a huge amount of recovery from aggressive draws.
I like that. I mean, that's one. There's so many decks bent on attacking. So, Infect deck aside, you're putting yourself in a great situation if you can just build a huge buffer of life. I mean, that's one way of dealing with aggressive decks, is just make them do 60. You know, like, yeah, I know your deck's built to do 20 as fast as possible. Try doing 40.
It's very hard.
Yeah. So Grant Wilkinson with no way to come back from that particular situation, scoops it up, and we're going to game 3 here between Matthew Pitzer and Grant Wilkinson. Black Market versus Esper Midrange.
22 minutes left. That should be sufficient. Both these players should be able to wrap it up in that time.
We've actually seen some pretty exciting decks already.
I agree.
I mean, we're only in round 2. We've seen Infect, we've seen Black Market, and we've seen a couple of pod lists. And mono blue Delver and Esper Midrange. So for those of you just joining us, I'm Joey Pasco in the booth with Adrian Sullivan.
Hello.
Coming to you live from Denver, Colorado, where we're bringing you coverage of the StarCityGames.com Open Series. And yeah, just round 2 of 9. 322 players today, the largest standard open in Denver. So pretty exciting. We'll see if Legacy can do some work of its own as far as record-breaking numbers. That would be nice. That'll be tomorrow, right after coverage of the top 4 and finals of this standard tournament that we're covering for you right now. So what I was talking about, actually, where I was going before with my mention of control decks.
Yes,
is,
I was going to hope you brought that back up.
We were talking about power versus consistency and being more consistent. And I think right now one of the toughest things for control decks is that you need such a wide variety of answers, because the control decks don't have the versatile answers that they used to. And so you need a lot of different answers, which could be in a lot of different colors. But we're going to be returning to Ravnica in the fall, and I imagine that mana fixing will be much improved. I think mana fixing right now is pretty good, but when we're going to go into a multicolor block, mana fixing is going to be much improved, and I would not be shocked to see the return of 5-color control when Ravnica comes. If
it has those things in it,
if it has
that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think what matters is it going to have some answers, and is it going to have the improved mana fixing? I think the mana fixing is a pretty safe bet. So we've got a Divine Offering in Matthew Pitzer's hand. He looks like he is taking that with... I'm sorry, it was in Grant Wilkinson's hand. I'm sorry. It was in Matthew's physical hand.
Right.
So a Duress shows us Gideon, Snapcaster Mage, Lingering Souls, and is that an island? Just a foily Lorwyn island, I believe? Yeah. And a Blade Splicer. And Divine Offering goes away from the Duress. So Matthew now needs to keep in mind that Snapcaster if he's going to put any artifacts into play, because the Divine Offering is available in Grant's graveyard. Of course, Nile Spellbomb can take care of that. So Blade Splicer from Grant. Going to try to get the aggro on early.
And 3-mana Nighthawk.
Vampire
Great
Nighthawk
card.
Another fantastic reprint from M13.
Yeah. Now, Nighthawk is an incredibly useful card against Lingering Souls, too, because you can race a single Lingering Souls, but then all by yourself hold off the entirety of both sides of a Lingering Souls if you're on defense.
So Grant gets in with his Golem, passes back. Matthew gets in with his Nighthawk.
Oh.
And Nighthawk number 2 from Matthew.
Oh, boy.
And we're going to see the one Dissipate that you mentioned in Grant's list take out that Nighthawk. All right, Grant in with the Golem and the Blade Splicer, knocking Matthew to 13. And we've got a Thought Scour from Grant. Scours away a Scour and I believe a Dark Slick Shores. Can't quite see it, didn't quite catch it, but I think that's what it was. Plays a land, says go. Matthew here untaps his 4 land. He's got a Swamp there on top, so we will see his 5th land drop here. What else is in his hand? Looks like he's about to play a Phyrexia's Core. Now he plays Swamp, okay. And is that
Curse of Death's Hold, maybe?
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like Curse of Death's Hold.
That's a curse.
So Curse takes out the Blade Splicer, and in with the Nighthawk, says Matthew. Matthew gaining life all the while.
It's one of Curse of Death's Hold, no others in the deck.
But it's enough to make that Golem less threatening. Loses first strike and a third of its power and toughness.
Right.
The first strike, not too much of a factor at this point, but now they're just matching each other 2 for 2 here. Like
I think the Nighthawk wins.
Yeah, I think the Nighthawk wins too, since Grant is actually not gaining the 2 life back where Matthew is. So Matthew went up to 19, goes down to 17, now going to go up to 19 again, it appears, and passes back. So
I think Grant needs to get a Consecrated Sphinx in play in order to deal with just the little bit that's going on right now.
Matthew's deck is like the high on life special. It just seems like he's got so much life gain. You know, all those cards you mentioned, Batterskull, Pristine Talisman, Wormcoil Engine, Phyrexia's Core, and then you didn't even mention Nighthawk.
Yeah, Nighthawk in the sideboard.
Nighthawk getting in again. So just undoing all the work Grant is doing with that golem, and meanwhile both players just hitting land drops. Grant draws, attacks for 2. For those of you who may have just tuned in, there is a Curse of Death's Hold in play. You can see the very corner of it at the bottom of the screen there. So that is, there you go. That is why the golem is just attacking for 2.
End of turn Restoration Angel to 2/3. Trying to make some progress towards Matthew Pitzer's life total.
And Dark Slick Shores comes into play even more than tapped. It was like so tapped it was diagonal.
In for 2 again. 8 life for Grant Wilkinson.
Are we going to see Matthew just win this game on the back of a Nighthawk?
And
Wellspring. Ichor Wellspring.
Draw. Wellspring again. He's going to wait for the EOT Wellspring, I think. In for 4.
What land did he just play? It looks like a Ghost Quarter, is that? Oh, it is Ghost Quarter, okay. I didn't see it in the list at first. I thought I missed it, so I was looking for something else. All right, so there goes the Wellspring, sacrifice to a Phyrexia's Core, gaining Matthew yet a little bit more life. And in with the Nighthawk.
Here we go, keep coming.
This race is clearly in Matthew's favor.
Only barely now that there's twice as much, though. Nile Spellbound.
Yeah, but Grant is not gaining any life, and he's so basically both players doing 2 a turn, but Matthew at a higher life total and with access to other life gain effects like Phyrexia's Core, which we saw him just gain a life off of.
Oh, Doctor.
There's
I
a
see
Solemn
trading post in
Simulacrum,
hand even.
and gets a Swamp. So now that will either put the brakes on the golem. Okay, so we've got probably a Divine Offering here. Are you gonna get the golem? Well, we've got a Snapcaster Mage.
A dead Snapcaster.
Immediately dead due to the Curse of Death's Hold, but he is flashing back something here. Gonna resolve the shuffle there first. And Matthew responds with the Spellbomb. So Snapcaster entirely negated.
Ponder. Looks like the Fishy Ponder. Quickly puts the cards back and shuffles.
Notice the players in Denver, for the most part, prefer the old school stuff. We've got Lorwyn Lands on Grant's side, Fishy Ponder, Lorwyn Ponder. We saw Old Rancor, Urza's Saga Forests in that Infect deck. Lots of old school. We've old school Duress in Matthew's deck. All right, so Grant here deciding what exactly to do. He's going to get in with both, and I imagine. Okay, so Matthew's going to just go on the offense. He declines the block and looks to be planning on getting in with his Solemn Simulacrum, along with the Nighthawk that's been getting in. A Gideon will put the brakes on that plan. Oh, so
Murder.
Gideon takes out the Nighthawk.
Yeah. Oftentimes, murdering is the best way to go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think we might see a Massacre here.
Did see an old school Mutilate in Matthew's hand. Yet another old school card.
Mutilate, not Massacre, my bad. It is a Massacre if it happens.
It is. I assumed you were just describing it, not naming it. So there's a Wormcoil Engine from Matthew, and we know Grant has no access to counter spells other than...
One Dissipate.
Well, he does have Missteps in the board, but that doesn't help against a Wormcoil Engine.
One Dissipate in the board as well, so access to 2.
Okay. When you said one Dissipate, I thought you meant the entire 75.
Oh yeah, one Dissipate main, one in the board.
So he may actually have access to that other Dissipate, because he has dissipated once.
I do like Dissipate in this matchup.
There's an Evolving Wilds for Grant, finding an island.
Now,
Go ahead.
Imagine that Matthew was at -4 life.
I imagine we would not be talking about this
That's
match.
right.
There's a Sun Titan, so Haymaker after Haymaker. Gideon meets Wormcoil meets Sun Titan. What is going to be...
I think we are going to see that Mutilate finally.
We're going to have a mutilation happening here. A wave of mutilation, so to speak.
to see Matthew perhaps sacrifice the Solemn Simulacrum now.
Just gain a life, and then draw a card.
Oh, wow. Sacrificing the worm now.
Yeah, that seems odd. I would think you'd want to mutilate and keep those tokens.
I think he's trying to get as many creatures as possible to try to get rid of the Gideon. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not certain.
So this is an end of Grant's turn situation?
Well, he does have a trading post, so he can get going the trading post trickery.
Right. Shenanigans, right?
Yes. There's the post. 1 mana shy of being able to do all of it.
All right.
In they come.
Everybody's swinging in. Matthew's like, I don't really care what you block. Let's see if I can get rid of Gideon.
Dead Angel.
What did the angel block?
Maybe it blocked Golem instead. I thought it was...
Yeah, you mean the Solemn Simulacrum?
Yeah.
Okay. It shouldn't be too relevant if he's going to mutilate here. There it is.
Boom.
Mutilate.
Take that, guys.
On a wave of mutilation.
Good song, good song.
Great song, yeah. So mutilate clears the board. Snapcaster for Grant Wilkinson will immediately die to the perma-mutilate in the form of Curse of Death's Hold. But Grant able to ponder. No Nile Spellbomb to clear his graveyard this time. And an Oblivion Ring for the trading post.
There's another trading post in Matt's hand, though.
And another mutilate.
Wow. Jinx. Joey Pasco. There, I said your name. You can still talk.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Were you a silence jinxer or
Yes.
a Coke jinxer?
It was usually the silenced one, but
some people are cans of Coke.
In college, it was Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Yeah, I never understood that.
And I was like, nobody ever paid up on those Cokes either. Ever. Not once. I don't think I ever saw somebody pay up on a Jinx Coke.
Mana. Worm
Coil. The one he retrieved from the graveyard last turn. Grant tapped out, so he's going to have to force of will this, which would lose him the match for sure. Worm Coil sticks, Grant untaps.
Ponder. I think I see a Go for the Throat and 2 other cards that don't matter very much. Looks for a random card to save the day. Draws a Go for the Throat.
Not quite what you want against a Worm Coil engine.
Yep.
I imagine those vampires in that picture would break their teeth on the Worm Coil engine.
It is actually very hard to come up with the correct, so to speak, black removal right now.
All right,
There's just so many options and so many different costs to each of them.
Matthew untaps with a Worm Coil engine. I imagine we're going to see that Gideon get hit pretty hard here, unless the Golem gets in the way on Grant's side.
I see a comment on Twitter from All Suns Dawn. That's Mark's son, a legacy mastermind. I agree with you, Mark's son. It is awesome that there's a deck called Black Market.
Agreed. So Doomblade, Matthew has the answer to Worm Coil engine, but he's not going to use it on his own Worm Coil engine. Instead, he takes out Grant's Golem and then swings in, kills Gideon, plays a Solemn Simulacrum, add a land to the board, and Matthew in great shape right now, up 6 life. after the Worm Coil Engine, took out the Gideon, so Grant with nothing in play besides lands.
Yeah.
9 mana though, 9 lands.
Now we were talking before about the Vampire
Grant-
Nighthawk. Matthew Pitzer would have been dead if it had not been for that Nighthawk.
That Nighthawk must have gained in excess of 10 life for Matthew Pitzer. So
Okay.
Black Market taking the match here in round 2 of the StarCityGames.com Open Series in Denver.
Awesome.
I'm Joey Pasco with Adrian Sullivan, and we're already having a blast.
I am definitely. It was awesome watching that one go down like that.